The vast ocean holds many secrets. Down there, the pressure is immense, a crushing force beyond our everyday understanding. In June of 2023, a small submersible named the Titan embarked on a daring mission. Its goal was to visit the wreck of the Titanic, resting silently on the seabed, miles below the surface of the North Atlantic. This journey was meant to be one of adventure and discovery, a chance to witness history firsthand. However, the deep sea is an unforgiving realm. The Titan's voyage, filled with anticipation, would soon turn into a global drama, a stark reminder of the perils that lie beneath the waves. The dream of touching the past, of seeing the legendary Titanic, drew 5 individuals to this extreme expedition. They were prepared to descend over 12,500 feet into a world of perpetual night. The Titan, operated by the company OceanGate, was their vessel, a craft designed to push the boundaries of exploration. But pushing boundaries in such an extreme environment carries inherent risks. The line between innovation and recklessness can become blurred when venturing into places few humans have ever been. The deep ocean is not like space. In some ways it is even more challenging, more alien. The pressure is a constant, relentless enemy, seeking any weakness, any flaw. The tale of the Titan's final dive serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers that accompany the exploration of Earth's last great frontiers. 5 individuals, each with their own story and motivations, boarded the Titan that fateful day. Their lives were diverse, yet they shared a common spirit of adventure, a desire to witness something extraordinary. Stockton Rush was the CEO of OceanGate Expeditions, the company behind the Titan. He was not just an executive, he was also the submersible's pilot, a passionate advocate for deep-sea exploration and innovation. Among the passengers was Hamish Harding, a British billionaire, aviator, and renowned adventurer. Harding was no stranger to extreme expeditions. He had traveled to the South Pole multiple times, flown into space, and held several Guinness World Records for exploration feats. Also on board were Shahzada Dawood and his son, Suleiman Dawood. They hailed from a prominent Pakistani business family. Shahzada was a dedicated philanthropist with a keen interest in science and discovery. The final member of this group was Paul-Henri Nargeolet, a former French naval commander and a highly respected Titanic expert. His presence on the Titan was a seal of legitimacy for many, a reassurance that a seasoned expert was part of the expedition. The morning of June 18, 2023, dawned with a sense of anticipation. The Titan submersible, tethered to its support ship, the Polar Prince, was hundreds of miles off the coast of Newfoundland, Canada. This remote patch of the North Atlantic was directly above the final resting place of the RMS Titanic. At approximately 8 o'clock in the morning, the final checks were completed. The 5 occupants were sealed inside the compact cylindrical hull of the Titan. The clamps released, and the submersible began its slow, deliberate descent into the cold, dark waters. The journey to the Titanic, lying at a depth of roughly 12,500 feet, was expected to take several hours. As the Titan slipped beneath the waves, communication with the Polar Prince was maintained through a text-based messaging system. For the first part of the dive, everything appeared to be proceeding as planned. The messages relayed information about the submersible's depth and status. However, about 1 hour and 45 minutes into the dive, at 9:45 in the morning, the routine updates abruptly stopped. The lifeline of communication went silent. On the Polar Prince, concern would have slowly begun to mount. The Titan was now alone in the vast, dark expanse of the deep ocean, its exact location and status unknown to those on the surface. Once the U.S. Coast Guard received the alert, a massive search and rescue operation was launched. The challenge was immense. The search area was vast, covering thousands of square miles of remote ocean, and the potential depth at which the Titan could be was extreme. Time was a critical factor, as the submersible had a limited supply of breathable air, estimated to be around 96 hours from the time it submerged. The international community responded swiftly, with assets and expertise pouring in from the United States, Canada, France, and other nations. Military aircraft, including C-130S, were deployed to scan the ocean's surface visually and with radar, searching for any sign of the Titan. Specialized equipment was crucial. Sonar buoys were dropped into the water, listening for any sounds that might emanate from the missing submersible. The search was a race against the dwindling oxygen supply. Every passing hour increased the urgency and the sense of dread. The intensive search continued for 4 agonizing days. The world remained transfixed, clinging to hope even as the estimated oxygen supply on the Titan dwindled to its critical limit. Then, on June 22, 2023, the focus of the operation shifted dramatically. The U.S. Coast Guard announced a grim discovery. A debris field had been located on the seabed by an ROV, approximately 1,600 feet from the bow of the Titanic. The nature of the debris immediately pointed towards a catastrophic event rather than a stranded submersible. The pieces found were unmistakably from the Titan. Among the items identified were the Titan's tail cone and other sections of its external body. The location and pattern of the debris were consistent with a catastrophic implosion. The U.S. Navy revealed that it had detected an acoustic anomaly shortly after the Titan lost communications on June 18. This sound, picked up by a secret underwater monitoring system, was consistent with an implosion or explosion in the vicinity of the Titan's dive site. The confirmation that the debris belonged to the Titan brought an end to the search and rescue mission, transitioning it into a recovery and investigation phase. The news was heartbreaking for the families of the 5 men on board, and for the millions around the world who had been following the story with bated breath. The discovery of the debris field painted a stark picture. As the shock of the Titan's implosion reverberated globally, attention began to focus on OceanGate expeditions and the safety record of its submersible. It soon emerged that numerous concerns about the Titan's design and operational safety had been raised well before its final, tragic dive. Stockton Rush, the company's CEO, was known for his philosophy of prioritizing rapid innovation, sometimes appearing to dismiss established industry safety standards and certification processes as hindrances to progress. One of the most prominent voices of concern came from within OceanGate itself. In 2018, David Lockridge, the company's former director of marine operations, had authored a scathing engineering report. He highlighted serious safety issues with the Titan's carbon fiber hull, questioning its ability to withstand the repeated stress of dives to extreme depths. Lockridge's warnings were allegedly dismissed by OceanGate's leadership. He was reportedly fired after raising these concerns. The Titan submersible was, in many ways, a unique and unconventional vessel, reflecting Stockton Rush's innovative yet controversial approach to deep-sea exploration. One of its most debated features was its hull. Unlike most deep-sea submersibles, which typically use hulls made entirely of strong metals like titanium or steel, the main cylindrical body of the Titan was constructed from a combination of titanium and carbon fiber composite. While carbon fiber is incredibly strong and lightweight, its behavior under the immense cyclical pressures of deep-sea dives was less understood and considered experimental by many experts for crewed vessels. The concern with carbon fiber was its potential for sudden, catastrophic failure. Unlike metal, which might deform or show signs of stress, carbon fiber can fail without warning, especially if microfractures develop over repeated stress cycles from multiple dives. The viewport at the front of the submersible was another point of concern. It was reportedly certified only for depths significantly shallower than the 4,000 meters required to reach the Titanic. Adding to the unconventional nature of the Titan was its control system, famously piloted using a modified video game controller. The exact cause of the Titan's catastrophic failure is still subject to official investigation, but experts widely believe the implosion was due to a structural collapse of its carbon fiber hull. At the depth of the Titanic wreck, approximately 12,500 feet, the water pressure is immense, over 400 times the atmospheric pressure at sea level. This equates to several tons of force per square inch pressing down on every part of the submersible. Any flaw in the hull's integrity, any weakness, would be ruthlessly exploited by this relentless external pressure. Carbon fiber, while strong, behaves differently from metals under such extreme conditions. It is susceptible to delamination, or separation of its layers, and micro-cracking, especially after repeated cycles of pressurization and depressurization from multiple dives. These tiny flaws, potentially invisible to the naked eye, could have gradually weakened the hull over time. When the stress on a compromised section of the carbon fiber exceeded its breaking point, the material would have failed suddenly and completely. This failure would have led to an instantaneous implosion as the immense water pressure crushed the hull inwards. The implosion itself would have been an incredibly violent and rapid event. The implosion of the Titan submersible sent shockwaves far beyond the immediate tragedy of the 5 lives lost. In the immediate aftermath, OceanGate Expeditions suspended all its exploration and commercial operations. The company faced intense scrutiny, global outrage, and the prospect of multiple lawsuits and investigations by authorities, including the U.S. Coast Guard. The disaster cast a long shadow over the niche industry of extreme tourism, particularly expeditions to the deep sea, prompting a profound re-evaluation of risk, regulation, and responsibility. One of the most significant consequences has been the amplified call for stricter regulations and safety standards for privately operated submersibles engaged in deep-sea tourism. The Titan operated in international waters, which allowed it to bypass some of the stringent safety certifications required for vessels operating within national jurisdictions. Critics argue that this regulatory gap allowed a vessel with known design concerns and an uncertified experimental hull to carry passengers on such a high-risk venture. There is now a growing consensus that international standards and mandatory third-party certification are necessary to prevent similar tragedies. The incident also sparked a broader debate about the ethics of extreme tourism and the pursuit of adventure at any cost. The legacy of the Titan implosion will be multifaceted, likely leading to changes in how deep-sea expeditions are conducted and regulated, with a renewed emphasis on safety over unchecked innovation.